All right. So, hi everybody. If I say I'm super excited one more time, I said that in the last video, but anyway, I am super excited once again. This is our second Antioch Homeless Coalition meeting, and right now, I guess we're going to go through some introductions. So, my name is Nicole Gardner with Facing Homelessness. We have Andrew Becker with Here Today, Home Tomorrow. We have Lacey with JAR and Mariah with This Act of Art. And we have a special guest, someone who is really special and near and dear to my heart, Thea Mount, who I met on the streets years and years ago. She's a formerly unhoused resident in the city of Antioch. So we are super excited to have her on and to hear some of her, whatever she wants to talk about. So yeah. So again, you guys, I just want to thank all of y'all for being here, and we are going to start with some. We're just going to jump on right into it and start with some city and county updates. Andrew.
Yes, thank you. So not very many updates since we last spoke. I did want to touch on the COC's Project Home Key round 2 funding is out, and they are accepting applications from local nonprofits, local for-profits, as well as local city governments. So advocate to your council members, your city staff, and that would be funding for any affordable housing projects here. That could be rentals, first-time buyers, or solutions for helping people get out of homelessness immediately. And that funding is set to expire in February, but it is on a first come, first served basis. So the sooner we get to these people and get that money, the better, more likelihood we have of receiving those funds. Other than that, I don't think we have too many updates here in the city.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Andrew. Next we have community events, or do we have any more? Does anyone know of any more city or county updates? I don't have any more on that. Okay, so next, can we jump into community events and updates? Mariah?
Yeah, so the community events and updates. Facing Homelessness outreach is every Wednesday of the month, except the first Wednesday. It's by Amtrak, and the goal is to feed the unhoused. And then the SHARE program. The SHARE program supplies showers to the unhoused every Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Community Outreach Church. The address is 525 East 18th Street. And then we have Loaves and Fishes. They serve food from 11 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. Monday through Friday, located at 403 West 6th Street in Antioch. I think that's all the events.
Perfect. Do we have any other discussion on that?
No? Nicole, can I just chime in?
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's also Showers of Hope up Fulton Shipyard Road at 11 o'clock on Saturdays. They offer showers, clothes, and also food.
Oh, perfect. And what time did you say that was, Thea?
That's at 11 o'clock every Saturday up Fulton Shipyard Road. It's right where the old pound used to be. It's your first right after the railroad tracks.
Okay. Perfect. And we can definitely have this information underneath the video as well. Anyone else? No? Okay, so next, we do have some videos coming, and we have made arrangements to have some videos coming to try to kind of introduce the community to some of our unhoused folks and our unhoused friends that are on the streets. This one is a little bit older, but I've decided I want to share it anyway. It is of Josie. So I am going to share my screen. I had to put you on mute. Let's see if this works. I tried this, you guys. Let me see. Can you guys see it?
Josie, we're here in Antioch.
Can you guys see that?
It's really small.
Is it really small? I'm looking at
Like we see the,
you can't see this?
I see the like the clips of
Folder.
it.
Oh,
We
we're
see
gonna
the
have.
folder of multiple videos.
Oh, I know, but I have put this on here. You see this little thing right here with these multiple videos. I tested this out and I thought it was gonna work. This is my first
The
time.
thumbnails.
Can you open it? Can you
Let
like
me-
open it up?
I did open it up.
Hmm.
Okay, well, that's not working.
Under your share options, when you go to share screen, do you have the option of sharing one window versus sharing your entire screen? It seems like it's only one window.
Okay, let me stop the share real quick. Okay, sorry, y'all. And I practiced this a couple of times before I came on. Okay, so let me see. So, okay, I think this is it. Is that it? No?
There it is.
Too small? Okay,
Yeah, it's good now.
is it good? Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
that worked.
All right, great. Okay, here we go. Here's Josie.
We're here in Antioch, California. Tell us your story.
Hi, my name is Josie, and I'm here in Antioch, California. I've been here going on 10 years now, living out here. And I was at my place caught on fire last April. And I've been homeless since then. I've been to the shelter for 3 months at a time. And then now I'm back in Antioch here, homeless, with a couple of people that I know it's safer here with them. And going for an interview next week, hoping to get a job and get out of this because I never been this way for this car.
So you said you were with Goodwill.
Yeah, I've been with Google since 2017, 19. Then they let me go because it's a two-year program. And now I'm just looking for another job though. I know I'll get one though.
So as far as resources out here, is there anything you'd like to tell the council or the people out here?
You know what? I know that people say that a lot of the people are on drugs and stuff. There's a lot of people that are not on drugs. They just want a home. It's just want to get back on the feet. And me, you know, it's just the first time I ever lived like this, and it's kind of hard. But I know it'll get better.
Yes. So with that, we'd just like to thank you for this interview. If there's one thing you've learned out here on the streets, tell somebody else, what advice would that be?
That'll be that if you're on the streets, be close to somebody, see what kind of situation you're in and where you're at, and just, you know, be aware of where you're at, you know, and what's happening and stuff around you. Grab hold of the resources they have, and there are good resources out there.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And we have a quick update.
Hello, happy 4th of July. I just want to thank everybody and thank the Outreach News for what's happening in my life right now. I'm out here right now on 4th of July, where they give free food out every Saturday and Sundays, and I want to thank those people too also, because we really wait for Friday to be eating on Saturday and Sundays. But I went to Cornerstone last Saturday and I was getting my shower because I didn't have a shower for a while. And a lady came up to me. I don't remember her name, but I just want to thank God for her. And she called. She asked me. She seen my YouTube, and she offered me a job. Another lady offered me a job, so I'll be going to that interview on Thursday. And I know that God's opening doors. But I thank you guys.
Okay, so that was Josie for all y'all who don't know Josie, super sweet lady. Thea, I know you know Josie. Super sweet lady. And she is still out there though, and she's gotten, I know she has some kind of cancer stuff issues, pet surgery or whatever that she pulled out of, but her spirits are, high. And so I just wanted to share a little bit of her story with you guys. Can we go into the word on the street part of the segment? Lacey?
Yeah, so a little bit of an update. There's not too many. The first thing is there is an unhoused couple who recently had their vehicle towed. It's currently impounded. They actually rely on their vehicle to make money. They do Instacart deliveries. They're also completely unsheltered outside of this vehicle, so they do not have anywhere to sleep without it. So they're unable to get any income and also just completely exposed to the elements. As you know, it has started raining. So we are trying to help them raise funds to get it out of impound. Every day that it's there, it costs more and more, and they have a very limited amount of time before it is demolished. Because it's under a certain dollar value, it's likely that the demolition date was expedited as well. This is something that the Antioch police do really, really frequently. So it will bring the demolition time down from, anywhere from 30 to 31 days down to anywhere from 13 to 15 days, depending on the impound lot and yard that has it. So we have a very limited amount of time to raise the money. Our goal right now is $600. If you're someone who's watching this who's able to help even with a couple dollars, we are using both Venmo and Cash App. The username on both of those is JAR East County. That's JAR East County on both Venmo and Cash App, and we can put that in the description also. And then downtown near Amtrak, we did have some both written and verbal notices given for evictions to the unhoused down there. They were given, I believe, 48 hours to vacate. There was about 12 of those notices given. And I think that is all that I have. Let me double check. Yeah, they had until 3 p.m. today to vacate. And I don't have any reports of any other like citations or vehicles towed, but if I hear anything else, I'll put that out on social media also.
Thank you, Lacey, for that. Any discussion on that? I know I'm gonna mute you real quick, Thea, okay? Just because I hear an echo. Whenever you want to hop on, you can just unmute yourself. I did talk to someone down there, so it is getting kind of bad. I know our next meeting, we're going to be talking a lot more on the criminalization of homelessness and different things like that. So I don't want to get too deep into it, but there are some folks down there, like Lacey just mentioned, it did start to rain. And so with people being given these notices, it's making it very difficult for them. I talked to a lady last night and this morning actually, and she's just afraid, once they come and they start taking all their things, then of course their tents are going to be gone, or their clothes or their blankets or anything like that. So I would just really highly recommend, if you do have any, the community, if you have any clothing. I know someone reached out to me today saying that they had blankets and stuff like that. She went ahead and, was asking where was a good spot to bring it to. So the community, if you guys have anything, these folks out there, they need them. I know I just was looking out in my garage this morning and was like, oh shoot, I forgot about, camping is over. And usually every year after the summer is over, we end up giving all our sleeping bags and all that stuff away too. So if I can just add, I think we have Spring on, so I'm going to admit her in real quick, if that's okay. Connecting her audio. Yeah, so hi Spring. Can you hear me? I'm gonna ask you to unmute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, nice to
Okay.
have you. Thank you so much for coming.
I had a hard time getting in. I couldn't figure out how to do it.
Yeah, no, that's okay. We had another guest coming on too, and she had some Wi-Fi issues, but we're glad to have you. We've started already, but right now we are just on basically, you know, our word on the street segment is just talking about, you know, different homeless weeks and different things like that that we heard people talk about, or you know, things like that. So over the last week, and so I think we had discussion on that, but I think we're going to, can we move on to the, if we didn't have any more discussion on that, Thea, sorry, Thea. I'm gonna put you on mute. So whenever you wanna speak, Spring, just because it doesn't look like your video isn't on, but just, you know, just jump right in. I'm gonna take Thea real quick.
Okay, I know I put a article on the Facing Homelessness page about a judge stating that there were being unfair practices with towing vehicles. A judge named like our vehicles, if we're homeless, as a homestead, and they can't. I don't. Nicole, do you remember me telling you about that?
Yes, I do actually. And I, to be honest with you, Thea, I don't think I
Couple
read.
that lost their car. That's my like adopted son. I've known that kid since he was 12. So
Right. I remember you telling me about that. So you know what I'll do is I'll go ahead and attach that article too. We can add that to the description part of the video as well. And like I said,
right.
I don't remember everything about it, but it was talking about how it was like something that passed within like the Supreme Court or something, right?
Right. It was in Sacramento where they were just saying that they can't put like an exceptional amount of service fees on it and expect people to pay it. It had to be reasonable.
Right.
So, and also, if I could find out maybe where they towed the car, if it's like B&R Tow, I know the owner. Maybe I can. There's not really much anybody can do. It's really fees that the state entails as soon as they're called. With every tow job, whether it be towing somebody's car for being homeless or whatever, the city has contracts with all the tow companies, and when your turn comes up, that's, you know, whoever gets the tow. So, but maybe I can figure out something if I know the tow company owner or something.
When I was in my car in Pittsburgh, a police officer himself told me that they're not allowed to tow your car if it's your home.
Right.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. And that's,
and my car was like 10 years out of registration.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a lot of, like I said, even with what, you know, Thea just brought up as far as, I mean, I think that's why we're here, right? We need to try to figure out, bring it to the city's attention, whoever's attention, that this, you know, all this stuff that's going on, it's not, you know, it's just not right. These are people's homes. So, so yeah, definitely. I'll definitely put a link. Is there any more discussion on that? Andrew, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, you know, I think that, you know, the community's strongest ally would be its voice to the council. You know, council at the end of the day gives direction to the city, and you know, these tows, it's a targeted practice, you know, and it definitely leads into that criminalization of homelessness. But we have quite a few residential and commercial adjacent city-owned properties or city surface streets here in the community that are actively used for parking on a regular basis. You know, if you look at the JCPenney's, the Slatton Ranch Shopping Center, that property, Slatton Ranch Drive there, that property dead ends. And coincidentally, one of our own tow companies here in the city uses that property for overflow parking for their own tow trucks. And the city restricts parking on those streets from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. And so it just shows that that code enforcement and these tow companies are are targeting specific individuals, a class of people, because off of Wilbur, we just opened up this, Oakley just opened up this industrial park, and we have 18 wheelers that park off of Wilbur all the time, that are occupied and unoccupied, and the city just chooses to leave them alone. And the sad irony of it is that these, business owners or business operators are the people that should be paying the fines, are the people that should be, held up to the same expectations as the rest of the community. So I think that we have to bring these injustices to the city council, and to the city staff, and not just talk about these practices that are happening, but actively go out into our community and look for instances that show that this inequality is happening, and so we can go forward from there. Because I'd be, this is for Lacey, I'd be really curious to know, in the last 12 months, out of the vehicles that the city has chosen to tow, how many of those individuals are unhoused residents, how many of those are just unoccupied vehicles in front of homes, or like I was speaking to, are there any vehicles out there that are actually parking illegally, or are they just being ignored?
I have to add that the targeting of unhoused residents specifically, and even specific unhoused residents specifically, is not something the city council is not aware of. It's something that we have talked to them about multiple times. If you go on my organization's page, all the way down, you're going to see constantly us trying to raise money for different people whose vehicles or RVs have been towed. And each time I reach out to the city council individually, like just, usually on their personal numbers, saying, is there anything that can be done? And what I've been told is, number one, the fees from the tow yard are, so technically the city taxpayers are paying that up front. So it's not something that they can waive. It's not something that they can reduce, because legally, the city has to, or we have to reimburse the taxpayers essentially. And so it's not something that they can get rid of. And so usually there's no like deal that can be made. Unfortunately, we either raise the money and get it out, or it gets demolished, unfortunately. And then also, when it comes to code enforcement and the engagement team, what ends up happening is unhoused residents who are particularly friendly to, the officers on the engagement team, or certain code enforcement officers, might get more warnings than actual tows. And then unhoused residents who are more, verbally disagreeable to, honestly, like Officer Lenderman or Catherine from code enforcement or whoever, they will literally just follow them around. And I actually confronted, I believe her name is Catherine from code enforcement. Obviously we've talked to Lenderman about this multiple times, but I think it's Catherine from code enforcement, because she was actually following a particular couple onto multiple private properties in her city vehicle. And I, over the phone, I tried to talk to her and say, hey, like, is there a particular reason that you're following them onto private property? And she called me bitch and drove away. Like, she would not engage whatsoever in any kind of like civil conversation about it. And so these are issues that we try to talk to city council members about and be like, hey, like, this is what's going on. It's like unbelievable. Like, you would not believe me unless you actually saw it happen and saw the ways that these people are being spoken to and saw the ways that they're being targeted. Because, you'll see one person get their car towed, get it out, the next day it's towed again, and then the next day it's like over and over. And honestly, until we can get them to agree to some kind of like safe parking lot, like I think you were alluding to, Andrew, which multiple of them have said that they're not supportive of within the city of Antioch. So that's something that we're going to have to address and talk about. I don't see an end in sight for that, because it's at the full discretion of officers from the engagement team and code enforcement who they tow and who they don't. If we can get some kind of documentation of like, you know, hey, this is considered somebody's home, so it's illegal to tow it, that would be really great, because then we could maybe print it out and give it to people so that they can pull that out when that starts to happen. I just wanted to like really throw it out there that they're aware not only of like the disproportionate towing of unhoused resident vehicles, but also like of specific targeting of people, and it's just not something they've been willing to address so far.
Yeah, and always, you know, for the community too. That's a really good point, Lacey. You know, we a really good way to help alleviate that is if any community members or business owners in our community would be willing to come forward with private property for safe parking. You know, Antioch PD do not have jurisdiction on private property, and as far as any zoning or ordinances in place, there could be zoning amendments applied for it, but the struggle is finding a property. So definitely, you know, if anybody is willing to come forward with some type of private property or church space.
Actually, speaking of church space, there used to be winter nights, and it was a church. Is that still going on?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Okay.
Yeah,
Is there an
they're just
echo on my
restarting
end?
it. They just started it back up.
It's
You
only
did? Okay.
it's only an echo if there are multiple people that are off mute, I think. So if we can have Mariah, was that your question, or were you going to go into that?
Yeah, my question was about winter nights, because I remember they had like a safe parking lot program, a small one there, and then they also had, you know, families were able to sleep inside, but mostly talking about the parking lot program there.
Yeah, the parking lot program, your car has to be operable. It has to be able to move. And a lot of homeless people, their cars aren't working.
Right.
Because in the morning you have to leave.
Yep. You do. Thea?
The parking lot program is here up at Kirker Pass. It's from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., but you have to be invited, and there's a intake process. It's not just, oh, look, there's somewhere to park. You actually have to be referred, and then there's an intake process. The car doesn't need to be registered, but it does need to be able to move. And it's not just for families, it can be for individuals. I've got a friend who parks there or used to park there at night. So that parking winter nights is still open. Right now, it's just a parking lot program, but during the rainy months, I do believe it's a shelter for men and women with children. And I remember, you know, Nicole, we used to talk about trying to start up a program like that in Antioch. And another question is, where did the porta potties and the dumpsters go? I think as soon as we stopped going to city council meetings and stopped getting, excuse me, in their face, they really did pull back and we're like, okay, well, now that we don't have to, you know, hear them every time our doors are open, let's see what we can get away with pulling out. With the dumpsters, it was a big impact when we got those dumpsters, wasn't it? It was great. You know, the unhoused helped us clean up, you know, and once again, everybody wants to put being homeless as in this one nice little circle, when actually being homeless is like the autism spectrum. You've got people that nobody sees, that they just want to do what they got to do to survive every day, stay out of the limelight. And then you have the people that are on drugs and screaming and throwing stuff in the middle of the street and making a mess. And because that's what everybody sees, that's what everybody thinks about. But, you know, there are people that are living in their car, living in a tent, you know, that just try to stay, you know, out of the limelight. I know one thing in Antioch is they keep ticketing people for having tents up during the day. And I know that that's against the law, because in Antioch, it is illegal to have a tent pitched anywhere from sundown to sunup, but it is not illegal to have a tent pitched from sunup to sundown. But yet plenty of my friends have gotten tickets for exactly that, having a tent pitched during the day. So, I mean, it also, some legal education for everybody might help, you know, the situation a little better also. And as far as the towing vehicles, it's called the homeless homestead judgment, I do believe.
And I have a question too. So if an in-house resident said this is the law, and they said that, do you believe that the cops in Antioch will know that or respect that, or do you think they will try to force a ticket anyways and try to take it down? Like, at what level do the police actually respect those laws?
They don't. When we figured this out, one of our friends went to court, and as soon as the guy brought up the fact that it's legal to pitch a tent, the judge threw it out. But that doesn't matter if you come up. Let's say I'm homeless, I'm in my tent, and I've got a warrant, okay, for something stupid. It doesn't really matter. He will use that to get my name so he can run it. You don't have to give an officer your name unless you're doing something illegal. And what he could say is, well, pitching a tent during the day is illegal, so I'm allowed to get your name and run your name. Do you understand? So because we don't know the laws, they are literally overstepping. And, you know.
Yeah, and a really good point to that too is that, you know, law enforcement relies very heavily on criminal law versus civil law. And law enforcement as a whole will typically 9 times out of 10 only enforce criminal law. The 1 out of 10 times that they're enforcing civil law is when there is a judge order or when somebody has come forward to pay law enforcement, such as a child custody issue. And so that's what, you know, what really Thea is saying, that's what law enforcement is banking on. So, you know, in that instance, if APD rolls up on you in a tent and they are trying to get your information for a civil issue, you could go the route of refusing, at which point they could theoretically take you in. And once you then went before a judge for your arraignment, because it was initially a civil issue, it would be thrown away probably. But at that point, like Thea was saying, a lot of people, the minute handcuffs come out, people don't want to go that route, and understandably. So I think that, you know, we have to advocate very, very strongly for people's rights, because as these are people's residences, people should be entailed to the same private property or personal property rights that the rest of the community is entitled to.
Yeah, I know that there was Joe with the RV thing that code enforcement kept bugging. Now all of a sudden it's not an issue. You know, back when I was homeless, which wasn't very long ago, we tried to stay out of the limelight. We kind of made our areas in trees, and the city of Antioch has actually made it a point to cut down everywhere that we would want to hide. So, I mean, they're like, APD will look at you and go, you need to leave. Why don't you find somewhere where, you know, you can't be seen? Well, we used to do that, and they used to come hunting for us. So, you know, we used to, you know, camp down in a gully behind Sycamore. It's amazing to me. And it seems, I know a lot of people have been getting indecent exposure. violations for having to urinate or whatever. Well, they took the porta potties out. And, you know, with all the businesses closed, you know, you can't just go in and use the restroom. I don't understand what the city expects unhoused people to do with a natural, you know, body function. Me and Irene used to save like $5 a day to be able to go into a restaurant or a fast food place, buy a soda and use the bathroom. But actually during the pandemic, that was hell in a handbasket.
Frank, you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, like, okay, well, like what she was saying about how they hunt us down, she's not lying. Like, they made us move we were over by the school in Pittsburgh, and they made us move. And the officer himself, he says, so where are you going to move to? I said, oh, I found a spot. He goes, well, where is it? I said, I'm not telling you. He said, I'll find you. I said, well, I know you will. It took him 3 weeks, but he found me. And he says, I told you I'd find you. They actually hunt you down. And then they cut my tree down, so nobody else could go and move there.
Wow.
I mean, they're cutting down all these beautiful trees just because that's where we're going and we're living.
Mhm. And that's where you hiding out at.
Yep.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
They take away all the places for us to hide, and then they tell us, well, why aren't you out? Why aren't you in? What do they say? Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Because you make it where we can't be out of sight.
Right. And you know what? One thing too, I just want to add, and then I kind of want to move on just a little bit for time. But you know, even like I was saying with this lady who I interact with all the time and calls me, you know, she is always saying, like, they're saying the same thing, out of sight, out of mind. But in all reality, there are so many women that are being raped and abused on our streets that she's like, I can't hide. I have to be in view of the public because I've been assaulted. Like, I'm a single woman out here. So, you know, that, and I know, Thea, you know, you told me stories about you being out there in your vehicle and having people trying to come through your vehicle, you know, men try to come through your vehicle. So these women out here on these streets, it's very hard for them to just, you know, even elderly, you know, I'm not even just saying women, but even the elderly, it's hard for them to be in the cuts, you know what I mean, and be in hide like that because they're just so afraid of, you know, something like what they've already experienced happening again. So if we can just kind of move on, we're just gonna move on just a little bit. We have a couple more topics here. So and I'm gonna make this short too because I know I'm enjoying the discussion rather than, you know, these kind of updates. So we kind of talked about how many unhoused people we have in Antioch. I'm just going to go to the point in time count, which is a 1-day census of persons experiencing homelessness and living in shelters in uninhabitable locations in Contra Costa County. The city of Antioch, and this was 2018, the city of Antioch had the most homeless in the county with 350, followed by Richmond, 270, Concord, 252, Pittsburgh 110, and Bay Point 61, Oakley 49, Brentwood 35, Bethel Island 7, and Discovery Bay 1. So I don't think there's too much discussion on that. We kind of just want to talk. I just know that this point in time count is wrong.
It's way wrong because there's a lot of us that didn't get counted. They never counted me, and I was in my car.
Right, that's what I said. And you know, I actually had called the county and was like, you know, can our organization get involved? We want to. There's people that I know for sure are not being counted, like on Sycamore by the tracks, none of that. And they were just like, they have certain locations where they go to, and I'm like, okay, well, you think everybody around the city goes to Loaves and Fishes? Like that doesn't happen. So I believe that this count is way higher. If there is no more discussion on that, we can move on to the next. I just wanted to, anybody else have discussion on that? No? Okay, so Lacey, you want to move on to the next item?
Yeah, so the next thing on our agenda is we wanted to talk about, you know, who experiences homelessness. And I wanted to start by just giving like statistical information, like you were saying, and then we can kind of go into anecdotal information as well. Mind you, any statistical information is going to be probably the latest updated January of 2020. They do not have updated information through the pandemic yet, which I can imagine is just astronomical. I just kind of like pulled a few things here and there. The majority of people experiencing homelessness are single adults. Throughout the nation, there are close to 410,000 people experiencing homelessness on any given night, 51% being completely unsheltered. 70% of those being women, men, 29% of those being women, and 1% identifying as non-binary or gender non-conforming. And then I wanted to talk about, let's see. So on any given night, around 35,000 of those that were counted are unaccompanied youth, completely unsheltered. The organization that actually collected this data wanted to mention that they believe that this category is the most undercounted. Unaccompanied youths are extremely hard to track when they're taking this data. So it's probably astronomically higher. They mentioned that the reasons for this are most often foster youth, victims of trafficking, those who identify as LGBTQ, and those that are pregnant or parenting. They also mentioned that specifically African American and Native American youth are most likely to experience completely unsheltered homelessness. Adults and children and families make up about 30% of that number that I mentioned. Most common reasons being stated is a major life event like a loss of a job, an unexpected bill or expense, domestic violence, loss of a partner, or a health emergency. Most people who experience homelessness, it's often brief and non-recurring. So they wanted to really point out the fact that the majority of people who experience homelessness are not chronically homeless. And one thing that I really appreciated that they pointed out is that the vast majority of people who experience homelessness, whether completely unsheltered or partially sheltered, do not suffer from chronic mental illness, substance abuse, or any other disabling condition. And I thought that that was really important to point out because I think there's a lot of stigma surrounding people who experience homelessness, like, oh, they must be mentally ill, or they must be on drugs, or they must, be disabled, and that's just simply not true. You hear a lot of the common statistics, like every household is 2 missed paychecks away, or one unexpected $500 expense. The majority of American households are that close to experiencing homelessness. And the number one reason that people experience homelessness is simply lack of affordable and available housing. It's not necessarily a life choice or a life event. It's just simply a lack of affordable housing. And then another thing that I wanted to add to this section was how things were changing even before the pandemic. Since 2011, the number of unhoused veterans was actually steadily decreasing every year. But starting in 2019, it began to increase again. And then from 2019 to 2020, since 2007, the number of people chronically homeless was steadily decreasing over time. However, from 2019 to 2020, it increased 15%. And then there was one other one that I wanted to include in here. Let's see. Yeah, really just that they were pointing out that it was really just an unexpected like health emergency, or the end of a relationship, the death of a partner, or the loss of a job. It wasn't necessarily drug related or mental health related. When they were interviewing people, the vast majority, the reasons that they were giving. So that's just, statistics given by an organization, but of course when we talk to people, everybody has their own story, and that's when you get into anecdotal evidence, and I really want to leave that for them to tell themselves. And that's why I'm looking forward to our segment where we're recording people that want to tell their stories, because when we're out doing outreach, I've heard such a wide spectrum of reasons that people are where they are and how they got there. And I really want to be respectful of them owning their own experience and telling that how they want it to be told. So I know a lot of people already in Antioch that I interact with frequently are excited to tell their story. And I'm excited for that to happen as well, because, you know, if you live in Antioch and you're watching these, you know, maybe once you're walking down the street and you start recognizing people, you can be like, hey, like, I know this person, you know, they're not scary. They're not, you know, some, you know, person I need to be afraid of. Like, this is so-and-so, and I've seen their video. And that's what I'm kind of hoping for the outcome to be.
Right, definitely. Thank you, Lacey. I'm sorry, you guys, my house is just so dark in this room. So hopefully you guys can still see me. But yeah, that was a great update. Can we move on to, we're just looking at time here. I think I want to just go ahead and skip on down, and then we can have discussion after this. Because I think, Lacey, you kind of went over like what causes homelessness. So if we can go to the next item and then have some discussion after that, that'd be great. Mariah.
All right. So what is the solution to homelessness? What can we do as a community? How can the city help? And whose responsibility is it anyways? Anyone wants to give their input or discussion on those questions?
Yeah, well, I'll go. So just a few things. I think, you know, and I think you talked about this a little bit too, Mariah, in the last meeting. I think it's the community. It's of course I think it's the city, the county, the state. But I think it really is going to take a community effort for us to all, you know, just to come together and try to do what we can for our brothers and sisters that are on the streets, right? So I don't think there really is like a full solution that we can really just come up with, but there are, you know, just different ideas to make the lives of unhoused folks a little bit better and easier. I'll stop with that, and then I think I want to have some comments a little bit later after. Anyone else?
I mean, I feel it's a human being thing. I don't, you know, the city says, well, you know, most of our unhoused are not even from our city. I completely disagree with that. Me knowing most of the people out on the street, I know exactly, you know, we all talk about our situations and what happened. And, you know, a lot of people say the homeless are all drug addicts and mentally, you know, and even if you become homeless, you know, you need to realize that the most and now I can't think, the most time that you can be victimized when you're homeless, what you have is everything. That's all you have. So, you know, the time that people like rip you or rob you is when you're asleep. So yeah, is there a chance that people become homeless because of so-and-so circumstance and then become drug addicts? Heck yeah. I mean, when the only time that you get victimized is when you're asleep. Why would you want to sleep? The cops come, you're asleep, and I was asleep and sick on the streets, and a cop came up and kicked me in my dang head and made me move. You know, we're not seen as human beings. We're seen as, you know, vermin, and that's a lot of the problem. A lot of people don't look at us like we're human beings. They look at us as people that don't want to pay bills. We want to be homeless. We want to be drug addicts. We want to be mentally ill. We're happy that, you know, taking advantage of people that want to help us. And I mean, yeah, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there like that, but that is not everybody. It's like doctors putting everybody in this one little circle. We're not all the same. And yeah, you might look at us and go, oh God, you know, she's walking down the street, her ass is hanging out of her pants, you know, she must like it, but it's just not like that. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of They don't want to give sympathy. They don't want to, because they feel like, okay, well, if you really wanted off the streets, you'd get off the streets. Okay.
Yeah.
And granted, I get that. But look, in 2015, I rented a 2-bedroom apartment on Sycamore. That apartment was $825. Today, that same apartment is $2,500. So, I mean, you can work and work, and honestly, the reason why I'm off the street is we found somebody that we can kind of trade services for. I found somebody who has MS, who can't walk or can't take care of herself, and me and my partner were willing to step in and help her out. And in return, she rents us a room. So it's kind of, and it's a job that I can't do by myself. It's a job that my partner can't do by herself. So, it's not like we can go out and get a normal day job. But, we worked this out so we could get off the street. And a lot of times that's just, and I have to say, and this is one thing that people don't realize either, is in-home support services, people that move in with their clients. If that client dies, a lot of us end up homeless. A lot of us with, and then we're homeless and we can't get another job because we can't take a shower. We can't, put out resumes. We can't do the work to find another client. So, I mean.
That's funny that you say that, because that's exactly how I became homeless 7 years ago. My client passed away.
And I'm sure I'll face the same thing when this client passes away. But for now, and I'm telling you, being on the streets clean is hard. Me and Irene did it for almost 2 years. It's horrible. I would have to stay up at night during the summer times, and we were in a car. And it would be so hot, we'd have to leave the windows open to the truck. And one night, some guy just tried to climb in. And, I'm 46 years old, having to stay up all night just to make sure that me and my partner don't get raped. And Antioch PD's driving past as this guy's trying to climb in my back window. They know we're homeless, and they didn't bother stopping.
Right.
They really, in Antioch, I can honestly say that they really treat us like we absolutely do not matter.
Right.
And the only time they want to interact with us is when they absolutely have to.
Right. So I kind of wanted to touch on just a little bit. So when we talk about what the city, first of all, do we have any other discussion, Andrew, Mariah, Lacey, on this before I kind of go into this other thing?
Oh, just thank you for sharing so much, Thea. So much what you're saying. I think that, if you don't experience it, or you're not there, you wouldn't, of course you wouldn't know that these things happen. And, I like how you brought up that, you might be homeless, then you might get a mental illness on the streets, or you might become addicted to drugs because, I remember one time in high school, I said something about someone drinking, and then someone said, well, if I was outside all night, I'd want to be drunk as hell too, to stay warm. And I was like, damn, that's a good point. Like, it totally, I was like, that makes sense. And so it's like, I think that that's really important to touch base on, because, even though, like Lacey said, statistically, not everyone, not a lot of people, there's a lower percentage of mental illness, drug addicts, addictions on the streets that we think, but still, like, I come from a family with a lot of mental health issues. And so to me, that's what I always assume when people are that a lot of times, because I have been to a lot of like mental hospitals and I visited a lot of people in them. So that's always like my first to go to, but it's, but I think it's good to say, like, how, Irene or Thea, I always do that.
Everybody does.
But you're nicer about it. You don't get back. Just kidding. But good to point out that you might turn to that once you are homeless. And that's something that I think shows how much we need mental health, and how our mental health depends on a safe environment. Sorry, I'll stop talking because I'm gonna rant. So.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're totally fine, Mariah. I totally get that too.
I do have one question. Is that okay? I want to know, with the hotel, the motel thing, Do we even know, out of that whole program, out of the 270 something rooms, how many people actually got housing? I know of 2.
I did.
I was gonna say, that's what I wanted to kind of touch on. I
And
just
well,
wanted
what it is they gave, I think it was 300 of us got Section 8.
to.
And then it was up to us and our advocate to find a place. And then there's a deadline. You have to find a place by this certain time. They gave you an extension if you needed one, but I was able to find mine like a week before mine ran out.
Right,
And then
right.
Casper
Yeah.
How many
got a
people?
place.
How many people do you know
So-
that actually use theirs?
So,
It's just that right there that we're at the Motel 6 where we were at.
Right.
I know of at least 8 people that got their place before I got mine.
right, definitely. So I wanted to kind of touch on that. Is there any other, before I touch on that, is there any other discussion on, what the community or what the city can do? I'm so sorry, y'all. It's just so dark up in here. my lights in here are just not bright. But is there any more discussion on that before we kind of go into just a quick conversation, because we're kind of running out of time here, just about what the city or community members can do to battle this crisis? So can we get Lacey, Andrew, you guys have any discussion?
Yeah, I would, I agree with what everybody is saying. No individual's path to becoming unhoused is the same. Becoming homeless is, insurmountable obstacles that are placed upon you or your family. And the support system that you have in working through those things.
Hold on, Andrew. Did you go mute? Andrew.
Wait, stop.
Hold on, Andrew. You started cutting out, but you're not on mute though. Maybe it's your connection.
Okay. Am I back? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, now we can.
Okay. So I just really briefly wanted to share that, my biological father was homeless from an early adult age. And I couldn't personally tell you exactly how he got there, but I know that I don't know whether he lost his compass or he just didn't have his compass. And that's a lot of our problems, right? We struggle to know where we're going in life or how we're going to get there. And the problem with life is that it doesn't stop. We're expected to keep walking, no matter whether we know the direction we're supposed to go or where we're actually headed. And that's why it falls on our family or our close community. When I say community, I'm talking about our loved ones, the people that we share what's near and dear to our hearts. And those people help guide us or hold our hands as we travel that path. And the issue in our community, I think, and I would say that this is an issue in our nation, is that there's a disconnect. And if you look, and I'll just briefly say, if you look to a lot of other nations, community is not your family, it's your village. And, we have to, as a village, come together and help to be that compass for those people. It's not somebody's fault that they have to overcome these obstacles. Even if they put themselves in these positions, we all stumble. But just because we stumble doesn't mean that we should be out of the game. And so we have to help carry each other. And that's why I think that it's a struggle with the city, because there's this disconnect. The community wants the city to fix the problem. And the city is not the community. We have to really know who our neighbors are. And knowing who our neighbors are is not their name, their blood type, their social security number, their address, their voting demographics. It's who they are. What makes them tick? Because just because a solution is put in front of somebody does not mean that they will take it. It's about how that solution is placed in front of somebody. And that's a process that doesn't start until you know who that person is. And so what we're trying to do as a community is find homes for places to go to. But that's not the solution, because we need to first find out what kind of a home does this person want to be in? And then we find that home. And so I think that as a community and a city, did I lose you guys again? Did I lose?
We can hear you, Andrew.
Okay. Yeah, I think that I just really wanted to say, I think that as a city and a community, if we can come together, offer somebody a smile, give somebody a hug safely during these COVID times, give somebody a mental hug, understand who somebody is as a person, and don't just tell people where they're going to go, but ask them where they want to be. And if we can come up with those kinds of solutions as a community, I think we'll have a better interaction with our city government.
Man,
He makes a really good point.
I'm sorry.
makes
Go ahead.
Right there, but a lot there, I've noticed too, there's a lot of them out there that they've been out there for so long and are so used to people not helping them that they get comfortable and they don't want help.
Right.
I mean, I can just right off the top of my head name about 10 of them that I know of that are like that. They don't want help. They're comfortable where they are.
Yeah, definitely. And I know some folks out there too that are just like, I'm perfectly fine where I am. And so I'm glad that you did bring that up, because there are folks out there that are just they're okay with their situation. But for the ones that do really need the help, I think Andrew is right. We need to kind of meet these folks where they're at.
And
But like
even-
Andrew said, he said ask them where they want to go. So that
Right.
works, that they said I want to stay here, but I don't want to be harassed. Like that's
Yeah.
that.
And-
Yeah. So I think Andrew kind of hit it all, and it was a moving speech there.
I was gonna say another mic drop, Andrew. Come on.
I know.
I really wanted to comment on that too, because in working and starting to understand who a lot of our unhoused individuals are in the community over the last year, you start to get a sense of sometimes, and I'm really not speaking for everybody, I just want to throw this out as a possibility. Sometimes we say that we're comfortable where we are because we've built up this safety net ourselves. We're afraid of relying on somebody or accepting help from somebody, because 9 times out of 10, society has let us down before. And so if we just step through that door again, we don't want to get it slammed in our face. And so a lot of people will say that they're comfortable where they're at because I don't want to say that they don't have an understanding of where they could be, but they just don't have the faith in the community to help them get there. And so they just don't want to open themselves up to that heartbreak. And so compassion is when somebody says, this is who I am, and this is what I want to be, and this is where I want to be. Compassion is not just saying, okay, and walking away. It might be that in the moment, but it's opening up your mind and your heart and understanding maybe what that person is going through, and just having a deeper conversation, because you can build that bridge over time and create that trust. And then in 6 months' time, that answer could be different, or it could still be the same. People choose the nomad lifestyle, and that's a real thing.
That's true.
And
Andrew.
throughout history, that was acceptable. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say real quick, Andrew, that I guess I didn't really think of it like that. I'm just like, but I think that is true. I think you really just have to, and I think the particular person that I'm thinking about, who's had multiple chances to get off of the streets and has just come back to the streets. And I just think, he even told me when he did get housing, like he would, when he got into housing, he had like a roommate, the county or something, they had hooked him up with it.
Right.
He had a roommate, but he like didn't even feel comfortable like sleeping on the bed. And then it was like, you know, then he didn't have family or anything out here. So then he kept going back to the streets to visit with us. So I just think, you know, even, and there's things that we talk about like a buddy system, you know, maybe a couple of your friends, two guys on the streets that are friends, you know, maybe they can get into a place together and kind of get each, you know, I cannot say hold each other's hand, but help each other through that transition, especially folks that haven't been on the streets for so long. This is all they know. So so yeah, so with that, I kind of wanted to jump in real quick because we are running out of time. We've gone a little bit over this, our second so, but so just, you know, just really quick, I just wanted to say, just because we are on this topic of you know, having Thea and having Spring on here as formerly, you know, our formerly unhoused friends that were on the streets of Antioch, they both got out of homelessness, basically going through this Motel 6 that the county put on in Pittsburgh. Let me think. And so they, you know, end up getting out, and recently, you know, not too long ago, getting housing. And I know a couple other people that also went through that Motel 6 as well. So I just wanted to get your ideas really quickly. Let's just give us about 5-6 minutes just to talk, and then we'll go into closing, just to talk about, you know, what do we think the city of Antioch, what do you guys think? Have you guys heard about this transitional housing model that the city is trying to lease and get some folks in there? Do you guys think that and real quick, I'm gonna say it real fast. So for all of y'all who don't know, before, Thea was a part of a Antioch Homeless Advocacy Coalition that I started a few years back. And we just basically were just talking, and we were just like, hey, maybe we can go get, you know, see how the people at the motel feel about the city working with the city. Oh God, I just went even darker. Jeez. See how the city feels about, you know, how the owners, because she knew the owners, feel about, you know, possibly working with the city or doing something. So she went and did the first step, y'all. She went and talked to him and talked to the owner, and then, you know, brought info back to me, and I ended up bringing that info to the council. And then the city council member, Lamar Thorpe at the time, he went ahead and talked to the owner. And so that's how everything kind of got started. So thank you, Thea. I said thank you, Thea. She didn't pay attention.
Thank you.
Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of how that got started. So just right now, being in that motel at the Motel 6, how do you guys feel about something like that happening in Antioch? Do you think that will help a lot of folks that are out here? I just kind of wanted to get you guys' opinions on it.
Well, I think it would. And one of the things that Spring said was, you know, some people are okay with being outside. And I don't really think it's that. I think it is that some of the programs that we have really expect you to jump through hoops. And a lot of the programs out there to help, like Shelter Inc. or CORE, you know, they only have a certain amount of resources. And I think it kind of gives everybody an unrealistic view of it all. And I know being unhoused myself, CORE came out and we were like promising this and that, and then didn't deliver. And we were like, oh, great, another, you know, just talking to get whatever they get for federal funding. And I think it's also, you know, a lot of programs fall short because they're really not supervised very well. I think the hotel program works. I think that it would work if there was more affordable housing. You get people out on the street that only get SSI. I get SSI, I only get $900 a month. That's not enough to even pay for a room in somebody's house. And then you have to think about food and, you know, gas or whatever. So I mean, I think people are just at the point where if they have no income, then they just resign themselves to being homeless because they feel there's nothing more for them.
So
you know,
so if you did have like that motel that they're trying to put here in the city with like county and wraparound services to help folks. So do you think that I mean, because I'm sure you guys have tried a lot of different things, have tried different resources and different things like that. But then getting into this motel, you know, I've seen a lot of people get off
Well,
the streets because of
It's
it.
just like Thea said, though, it's like they put a lot of restrictions on you. That's why a lot of people didn't go to the Project Room Key. I mean, I'm surprised I made it through the program, but I mean, I found ways to get around it and, you know, cheat the rules a little bit, but not everybody can do that.
Right.
And I mean, we were jokingly calling it prison. When they moved us from Motel 6 so they could do the remodeling, they moved us to Richmond. They actually would lock the gate on us at night at 10 o'clock at night so that we couldn't get in and out. So yeah, a
Right.
lot of people think, oh my God, I'm in prison. They don't want to go. I mean,
Right.
the
But
restrictions are too tight.
yeah, and I've heard that too, but I have heard like people like, but I stuck with it though. Because they
I stuck
wanted,
with it, but I also found ways to get around it. I cheated the system quite a bit.
okay, Spring, let's not keep talking about you cheaters.
So, but nobody, not everybody else could do that, you know, and they're like, no, I'm not going to be locked in at night. And what kind of shit is that? I mean,
Right.
everybody, the joke was that we were in prison.
Right.
And I mean,
But
pretty much
but
you are if
that
you're
isn't
locked
what it was
in, you
supposed
know.
to be. It was supposed to be being safe. I mean, I get it. A lot of people did consider it prison. You know, life has rules, and if you can't follow simple rules, I mean, and that's a lot of the people that are staying out on the street. They really just don't like to be told what to do, when to do, and how to do it. You know,
Right.
and really wanting a way off the street means that you have to kind of conform to society. And some people just don't want to do it, you know, and that has a lot to do with the fail rate. I think they think that they can deal with these. I didn't think that they were bad rules. I mean, and I worked on the weekends. I worked from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, and I could come in after 10 as long as I let them know that, hey, look. But, you know, a lot of people aren't willing to do that. The fact that you had to call to leave your room, you had to call to come back to your room, you know, every time you left your room, if it would go to do laundry in the office, you had to call. You couldn't leave your door propped open. You couldn't do none of that.
Right. Well, I'm just so happy and thankful that y'all and a few other people that I know got through the program, and you know, you guys are in a better place.
Amen.
Andrew, were you going to say anything? Or sorry.
Yeah.
Lacey?
Yeah, I was just going to quickly say that, you know, I think that I think those are both really great perspectives. And I think those are both very real perspectives. I think that you really both just hit the nail on the head, that it's all about perception, and it's about how people go through that process. And, you know, if I would make any suggestions to the program, you know, I think that one thing that really would help is that these organizations that are coming in. So for instance, the Motel 6, the former Motel 6 East County shelter site now, is currently being operated by BACS, Bay Area Community Services, as well as the county H3. And these organizations don't have the workforce. They don't have the staffing that's needed. Unfortunately, what actually happens is when these programs go out for RFPs or RFQs, these organizations quote prices that include them hiring more staff to be able to handle these projects. So that creates a delay in training, and so that creates a delay in implementation on site. And so I think one of the issues is that when you have, let's say, a place that has 250 rooms or has 200 individuals on site, and you have, you know, at most 5 or 6 staff, people are not getting the attention. And, you know, what happens is that, let's say that you have a medical diagnosis. Let's say somebody diagnoses you with, multiple sclerosis or fibromyalgia, a serious diagnosis. What then happens is that you're wrapped around by this care team, right? And it's a multiple pronged approach. And throughout the whole thing, the one thing that should stay constant is communication. But what happens in these programs is that people are brought in, people are told the rules, and then people are expected to live by them with very little maintenance. And so there's no cohesion. There's no, people feeling like that people care about them, that people want to work with them through the program, that they're just limits that are placed upon them. And then people don't have a reality of how much people the staff is dealing with, that they're dealing with 20 or 30 or 40 cases at a time. And like Thea was saying, affordable housing is non-existent. Really, really quickly for Antioch, I was just reading that Fremont is increasing their affordable housing in lieu fees from $27 per square foot up to $50 or $44 per square foot, which I think is phenomenal. But the issue is that Antioch doesn't have any affordable housing in lieu fees. We're not addressing the problem.
Thank you, Andrew, for that. I totally agree with everything you said. If we can, we're going to go into closing right now because we ran over, and everybody looks like it's getting dark. Look at Lacey. Lacey in the dark. I'm in the dark. We just have some dark rooms. But yeah, so I just kind of want to go into closing. Our next meeting date is November the 1st at 5 p.m. We'll have community members on and be sending out emails and things to community members who have said they wanted to participate in the conversation. Thea and Spring, thank you guys so much for joining us today and giving us your input. We really appreciate it. You guys are welcome back anytime to come on and just kind of talk about some of these topics and different things that's going on out there on the streets, because y'all know. So some of the topics of discussion at the next meeting will be the criminalization of homelessness in Antioch, illegal parking by the unhoused in the city, blight and how it affects the city. And again, I just want to thank y'all, but I got something for y'all because my girl Spring is a singer and her voice is beautiful, and she is allowing me to share her video. It's about 4 minutes long, and then we're gonna close on out. But thank you for blessing us, Spring. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen right now. Okay. Can you guys see that?
Something inside of me broken. was missing the most. There been no shooting star for me to use wishing on you. All of my sorrows, I just wash him all down. The only thing that I've ever found. All of this drinking and smoking is hoping, but feel like it's all that I need. Don't get inside of it broken. I hold on to feeling that sets me free. I'm a lost cause. Baby, don't waste your time on me. I'm so damaged beyond repair. I've been shattered my hopes and my dreams. I'm a lost cause. Baby, don't waste your time on me. I'm so damaged beyond repair. I've been shattered my hopes and my dreams. I'm a lost cause. Baby, don't waste your time. Damaged beyond repair. I've been shattered my hopes and my dreams.
Thank y'all. Thank you. for
Woo, that was
including y'all.
awesome.
Wasn't that? Her voice is amazing. So thank you so much, Spring, for that. That's one of my favorite songs. I love it. It just totally reminds me. I mean, Spring sent this to me about a year and a half ago or so when she was actually still living on the street. So this song really touches my heart and it's really near and dear to my heart. It just makes it so much better that I can have you here right now when we were talking back then and have you in such a better place. And you are not a lost soul. And this song really speaks to, when I think about the unhoused, how some people could just be so down and feel as though, nobody cares about them. So I'm just letting
That's
you
how
know.
I felt when I recorded it.
Right. And I let you know then that, I got your back and there's people out here that's fighting for y'all. So thank you so much for that. We'll go ahead and we'll attach the video of our girl Spring and her song Save Me in the link. Once again, thank y'all. It's getting so dark again. Spring, looks like Thea got off, but anytime, honey, you want to come back on, we'll let you know. We'll give you the links, okay?
I'll be here. You just let me know ahead of time.
Oh, of course. All right, y'all. Have a good night. Love y'all.
All right.
Bye.